Hello everyone. Before I get started, I'd like to begin with my thanking that you participate in this presentation. My name is Kyong Kim. Let me go into move on. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Liberal Arts at Chodan University, South Korea. My primary research interest includes critical theory in English language teaching. I am currently researching artificial intelligence, project-based learning, and reflective practice on ELT in Korea. Today, I'm going to talk about AI-supported critical PBLL in Korean University General English. Let's begin with the background of this study. In the era of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, some transformative educational paradigm has emerged. Learner-centered knowledge construction, creativity, and AI technology are the examples. In line with this, college English education, in which teacher-centered passive teaching and skill-based language learning are primarily practiced, needs some transformative college English education. This includes learner-centered knowledge construction, for example, project-based learning, creativity, for example, critical thinking, and AI technology, for example, machine translation and generative artificial intelligence. The purpose of this study is developing and exploring a framework of a transformative college English education in Korea. The pedagogical framework includes two approaches. One is critical project-based language learning, in other words, CPBLL, and the other is artificial intelligence technology-based learning tools. Let's move on the outline of the presentation. These are the outline. It consists of 5 sections. First, I'm going to discuss what PBLL is. In other words, PBLL is a form of student-centered inquiry. Second, I will examine CPBLL. That is, CPBLL embeds problem-posing education in PBLL. Then I'm going to develop a pedagogical framework in which AI technology-based learning tools are employed in CPBLL approach. With some findings, I will conclude with some pedagogical implications. Shall we move on to the first section of this presentation? According to Beckett and Miller, project-based learning is a teaching method based on constructivism. The approach is developed from the ideas of experiential learning by John Dewey, later termed project work by William Kilpatrick. Various interpretations and overlapping terms of PBL have been used. They are project-based learning, problem-based learning, inquiry-based learning, problem learning, and the project method. Regardless, a key component of PBL is the student-centered inquiry paradigm of knowledge construction. In a student-centered inquiry classroom, students can judge the reliability of the information while researching project topics and issues. In the meantime, teachers can guide the students' research by providing safe and efficient methods. Let's examine the detailed process of student-centered inquiry in PBL. According to Morse and Dusser, the general process sequence of the student-centered inquiry involves students select topics, then students raise related issues. After that, students plan and gather sort of relevant information. Then they discuss information they have collected. And last, students share outcomes with other students. Shall we move on to what PBLL is? A specific process of PBL in EFL, English as a Foreign Language, like Korea, can be referred to Allan and Stoller's PBL in language classrooms. In other words, PBLL in language classrooms. According to Allan and Stoller, PBLL can have 10 steps, which involves 3 optional language interventions in line with language levels and needs. Plus, the framework involves language just before I said, it involves language interventions for language demands for activities. For example, at the last stage of PBL, usually students, there is some sort of session of presentation, oral presentation. So in the section, students need the oral presentation in English. Let's move on to a specific process sequence or PBLL. These are the process sequence or PBLL. There are 10 steps. In the middle of the process, you see 3 optional language interventions. Like this one, like the first one, can you see that? Step 4, step 6, step 7, and another one, step 8. So these are the language intervention sessions. These steps aim to prepare students for language demands of the following steps. Shall we move on to the second section of this presentation, which is CPBLL. Critical PBLL aims to enhance creativity while students involve inquiry and knowledge construction in PBLL. According to Kyong, who is myself, CPBLL, based on Allan and Stoller's PBLL framework, critical perspectives originated from Paulo Freire's critical pedagogy are embedded. Freire, 1993, suggests a problem-posing education that accepts neither well-behaved present nor a predetermined future. He argues, Freire argues that the traditional banking education, where knowledge is neutral and transferred unilaterally to unquestioning students who are seen as empty vessels, would not respond to the politics of power, since it merely aims to assimilate learners into the logic of the dominant system. In line with this, I insert the concept of critical pedagogy in a form of problem-posing pedagogy in PBLL, that is CPBLL. Nixon Ponder suggests 5 steps of pedagogical framework of problem-posing pedagogy. Step 1. Students involves describing the content of discussion. Step 2 engages in defining the problem. Step 3 involves personalizing the problem. In step 4, students discuss the problems from social perspectives. And lastly, in step 5, the students discuss the alternatives of the problem. Shall we move on to the third section of this presentation, which is a pedagogical framework of CPBLL and AI. Now we are examining the other element of transformative college English education, which is AI technology-based learning tools. AI technology-based learning tools in ELT includes resources related to written English, for example, machine translation and grammar checking tools. Another one is resources related to spoken English, like, for example, text-to-speech or machine translation and AI chatbots, and recently, generative AI. Let's move on to the potential of AI in ELT. Okay. The potential of AI is it can enhance learner engagement. Also, it can provide immediate feedback, and it can develop productive language skills. For example, according to Lei and Lee in 2024, conversational AI positively impacts both affective and cognitive learning. We see another reference, according to Jainuddin in 2024, teachers perceive AI as effective for real-time feedback and personalized support. In the meantime, there are some limitations people argued. This is a sort of perspective. In past research, most AI technology-based tools or unimodal, for example, text or speech only, something like that generally. Yet, a present study uses multimodal generative AI. Today I am presenting the present study uses multimodal generative AI. In other words, which includes text, image, and audio. It can open new possibilities for PBL in ELT. First, it can integrate language production as well as visual communication, plus also it can encourage critical reflection. Shall we move on to the pedagogical framework of transformative college English communication? Like a present study, It integrates various AI tools in a Korean University General English course with PBL. The tools which this study use, there are 4 types of tools, AI technology-based tools. First one, ChatGPT, Google and Google Gemini, for content generation, sentence restructuring, and vocabulary expansion. Another types of tools this study uses, Papago and Google Translate. Using these AI tools, students can sort of practice meaning clarification and Papago is a Korean English translation. It's something mixed up, and also Grammarly, you might hear these AI tools. Grammarly can check through these tools students engaged in grammar correction and writing feedback. Another type of AI tools is natural readers. This is specifically for pronunciation practice through text-to-speech. Lastly, in this study uses Google Assistant and other AI chatbots, which are for conversational interaction. This kind of tools enabled multimodal learning. As I told you before, multimodal learning involves text, audio, and visual, and it can make tasks, it can help students make accessible across proficiency levels. Specifically, interestingly, for lower proficiency students, these kind of tools can help reduce cognitive load and anxiety. In addition, it can also encourage more confident speaking and writing. The pedagogical framework I developed is CPBLL with AI technology-based learning tools. In other words, this framework has employs CPBLL and AI technology-based learning tools. We will examine the detailed process sequence of CPBLL with AI. Basically, there are 4 sort of activities engaged in CPBLL with AI tools. First, students understand source material. Then students write English group journals. After that, students engaged in group presentation. Lastly, the participant students write the final version of group journals. This is the outline of the instructional design of the critical PBLL framework. It begins with, in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it lasted 6 weeks, from week 8 till week 13. And there are, the second column you see now, there are 12 stages. Stage 1 involves comprehending source material. In this stage, students mostly engaged in reading comprehension. And in this activity, the students uses generative AI and translation tools. Stage 2, students involves selecting a problem. And in terms of AI integration, students uses generative AI and search engines. Stage 3 engages defining the problem. In terms of AI integration, students use generative AI and translation tools. Stage 4 engages personalizing the problem, which means students relate the problem to their own experiences. In this stage, students use generative AI and translation tools. And after that, stage 5 engages students group discussion on the problem. The AI integration includes generative AI, search engines, and translation tools. Stage 6 involves developing possible solutions. Students use generative AI, search engines, and translation tools. And stage 7 engages drafting the group report. So particularly in terms of language learning, students engage in writing skills. For this, students use generative AI, search engines, and translation tools. Stage 8 engages peer feedback on group reports. Particularly, students are developing their understanding of English logics. Stage 9 engages revision of the group report. Again, in terms of AI integration, students use generative AI, text-to-speech AI tools. And after that, stage 11 engages English presentation and Q&A. And lastly, the students engages the final draft of the group report. As you can see, throughout this CPBLL framework, AI, particularly generative AI, is used throughout the process. Go back to the general 4 activities throughout the framework. First one, students develop their understanding of source material. In this step, language intervention was applied with the use of ChatGPT and Google Gemini. Students analyzed a UNESCO report. Building on the article's themes, students examined the concept of inequality and analyzed the global inequality indices, particularly Gini coefficients, discussing Gini coefficients in 4 different countries and their broader social implications. In other words, students examined global inequality trends and Gini coefficients to understand how inequality is measured, its impact, and its alternatives on various nations. Language intervention was provided in 5 key areas: logical structure in English writing, coherence, sentence structure, subject and verb agreement. Next, vocabulary acquisition. Lastly, reading comprehension. AI-supported text outcomes from ChatGPT and Google Gemini were utilized to improve vocabulary and comprehension. So this is sort of a detailed explanation of the sequence. Second, students engaged writing English group journals. Students participated in a 7-step process to collaboratively write the English group journals. In step 2, students selected a problem from the article using AI generated content to explore the issue. In step 3, the selected content was translated into Korean using AI-based translation tools. The chosen issue was then personalized in step 4 by linking it to the students' own experiences. In step 5, the group engaged in discussions from multiple perspectives, for example, social, cultural, and economic contexts, while AI-supported tools have to refine both content and language. In step 6, the group proposed alternative solutions, and step 7, the first draft of the journal was created, refining both the structure and content. In step 8, language interventions focused on coherence and logical flow with faculty feedback to improve the journal's quality. In step 9, students submitted their final draft after revisions utilizing both AI-generated and teacher feedback. And next one, regarding group presentation. In step 10, groups prepare their oral presentations in English, collaboratively drafting speeches with AI-supported tools for language accuracy and practice. Text-to-speech AI tools, TTS AI tools, for example, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Natural Readers, Naver Papago, were used to practice pronunciation and intonation, and transition phrases were provided through AI to improve fluency. In step 11, students delivered their oral presentations in English, followed by a Q&A session in Korean, in the Korean language, based on their group journals, helping students expand their use of expressions in both languages, in other words, English and Korean. Lastly, students write the final version of group journals, which is in step 12. The group journals were finalized incorporating the Q&A session content. Students submitted the final version through the university's learning management system, LMS, after refining it with AI-supported tools. About group journal entry, there are 4 parts. Part 1 is oriented CPBLL. There are 5 sections. One is quoting a problem from the English source material. Second one is students define the problem. Another one is students relate the problem to their own experiences. And another section is students discuss the problem from social perspectives. Lastly, students suggest the problem solution or alternatives. Next, part 2 is about Q&A section. During the Q&A section, students receive some kind of questions from the audience, and they include the questions and their answers in this section, in this part. Last part is reflection. So throughout this PBLL, the PBLL 6-week PBLL sessions, how they reflect their learning experiences. So what they learn, for example, what they learn, how they feel it, something like that. Okay. Findings. Positive responses. The students had a positive English learning experience in terms of cognitive factors, affective factors, satisfaction, linguistic factors, knowledge construction, and reflective practices. In the meantime, on the other hand, the students had negative learning experience in relation to the inadequate quality of AI technology-based tools and rather over-reliance on the tools. Inadequate quality of AI technology-based tools, for example, like if the project topic is some sort of sensitive, and the outcome of, for example, ChatGPT, the outcome of the ChatGPT is rather too limited. That's what sometimes it's sort of, the outcome, it says it is sort of too sensitive to produce something like that. So overall I said that is sort of the inadequate quality of AI technology based tools. Okay, this is basically we are ending the presentation now. Pedagogical implication: the inclusion of student initiated grammar session. So the inclusion of a student initiated grammar session is needed. For example, feedback provided by Grammarly AI technology based learning tools. Using this one, students initiated grammar session is needed. Another one is English language practices, speaking and writing, both of which should serve to lower the over reliance on AI technology based learning tools. Conclusion. Thank you. And if you have any question, please ask. All issues and questions are welcomed. All right. So bye bye.